This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about quite a few subjects actually, some updates and some news stories. The first one is I mentioned in a previous video about Imperial Yachts moving away from Monaco and moving to Turkey. It appears that that move is complete and they're already up and running. Somebody made a comment at the end of the last video that they already actually had a website. And the new website, this is a strange one for me. The new website is Imperial Yachts Antalya.com. Antalya is a place in Turkey. Now, why would they change their website? I mean, their old website is still there, but they've built a new website completely independent of the old one. That's a strange one. If you've got any ideas why they would do that, please put them in the comments. I've also got a new Instagram page as well. So the reason why, like I said in the previous video, that they hadn't posted anything since the 29th of June. Well, they've got a new Instagram page. They've already got many posts on that Instagram page. One of the things I wanted to say about the website is the website looks quite amateurish compared to the old website. So it's a bit baffling, really. You've got a good product there already. Why not just continue with it and change the address of the office to Turkey? But yeah, complete restart in Turkey for some reason. Never received any replies from any of the people I tried to contact in the company, include the lawyer, the PR team, all of the different email addresses and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a bit of a strange one for me. I understand that they had to move. They were asked to leave the Principality of Monaco by the authorities, went to Turkey, which makes sense because that's where all the Russian yachts are now. But they've started up completely separately. Anyway, we'll move on to the next story. A little bit of an update on Dilbar. I mentioned that the Dilbar was starting to be uncovered. I was wondering why that was the case, and it looked like they were getting ready to move the vessel. I had a statement back from Lusail, who own Bloom & Voss now, and they just said that they told the authorities that they were doing what they were doing and that they were making the vessel safe. Some sources have told me that what's actually happened is when the vessel was, when the owner was sanctioned, the vessel's shafts had been removed. And obviously the shafts are where the propeller's connected to the shaft. The shaft goes through the hull of the vessel and is connected to the engines. And that's what drives the vessel, right? And if the shafts are removed, that means if you put it in the water, it will take on water. And what I'm told is that they're going to plug those holes. They're not putting the shafts back in, but they're going to plug the holes so the vessel can be refloated, and it's going to be moved out of the dry dock and put somewhere else. So it definitely won't be going anywhere other than wherever they're going to tow it. Okay, so the next story is Lusail update. Vessel was spotted going through the English Channel, not broadcasting AIS, and the vessel's been visiting various places in Portugal. Now, a source told me that the Emir was looking for football players, possibly buying football players, or perhaps a complete team. Now, I have no idea what that means exactly. I know he owns Manchester City, I believe. So it's got probably got something to do with that. I don't know anything about football whatsoever. But that's what a source told me. Whether or not, I have not been able to confirm that independently. The vessel did arrive in Gibraltar at the weekend, and the source told me that they could hear over the VHF radio that the port authorities telling the boat, you're not broadcasting AIS. And they replied that they had an exemption due to security, which obviously means that the head of state is on board. The yacht is believed to be eventually heading to Tarragona in Spain, where it sits over the winter months. Okay, so there's been another yacht fire, and this one is a larger one than some of the previous ones that we've looked at. This was a Pershing 88 yacht, and it was called Cinque, which is Italian for 5. As a 26-meter that can hold 8 guests and 4 crew. Now, the vessel is believed to have started because of an electrical fault in the engine room, and this is according to Aqualux Yachts, and that's they were quoted by Super Yacht Times on their website as saying that that was the cause of the fire, and confirming that it was a Pershing 88, because there was some question about which model of Pershing yacht it was. The vessel was seen on fire. A lot of people passed by. I had some subscribers send me some footage in here as well. Also I had Monte Carlo Marine Instagram page send me some of this footage. I'll label it on the screen so you can see who sent me what. So what happened is, according to the reports, is that a vessel caught fire. The guests and some of the crew were loaded into a tender, and a couple of crew, I think, stayed on board to try and put the fire out. They were, however, unsuccessful in doing so, and eventually they were also evacuated to another boat. And you can see that the Coast Guard were in attendance also, and I think that eventually they got to a point where they just let the thing burn itself out. I never saw any reports of any firefighting getting to the vessel. It's quite obvious. It's quite possible that it did happen, but I don't have any video or any photos of any vessels fighting that fire. The vessel is a GRP hull and superstructure, and it can do up to about 34 knots. And values of these vessels of vessels for sale online was between like $2 and $3 million. There's no injuries in that fire, which is the good news, isn't it? Okay, so one more story before I go, and that is we had a breaking news video on Saturday about the 2 yachts that had been detained in Antigua. These vessels had been detained there since March, and all of a sudden they just left, and there's no reports of why that was the case, that they were allowed to leave. Some comments in the comment section is like, well, you know, what's to stop the vessels leaving? There's no physical barrier. But you know, you have to follow laws, and also in very often cases, if a vessel leaves, they can be chased after by, you know, military or Coast Guard. Understandably, Antigua probably doesn't have a big navy, but also the question is, where did they get their fuel from? Because they weren't allowed to buy fuel while they were there. So all of a sudden they've been allowed to get fuel and leave. So there must have been some sort of agreement made that allowed them to leave. We're talking about Motor Yacht Garçon and Motor Yacht Halo, of course. They are now heading across the Atlantic. They have Morocco as their destination, which will be where they go for fuel after crossing the Atlantic, because, you know, it's for a vessel, especially vessels that size, they would need to refuel after doing a crossing like that. It's about 3,400 nautical miles to make that trip, I believe. In the previous video, I quoted the Antigua ambassador to the US, Sir Ronald Sanders, and he made a quote that they didn't have any sanctions laws in Antigua. What I didn't put in that video is that despite Antigua having no sanctions laws, they offered to assist the UK should they wish to detain these vessels. And Sir Ronald Sanders said that we would wish to cooperate with the jurisdiction imposing the sanctions. The British would have to make a mutual legal assistance treaty request to Antigua for us to do anything. Now, this was back in March when they were first detained. Now, whether that ever happened, I don't know. The government in Antigua, although not having sanctions laws, they did give a list of everybody who was sanctioned, all the Russians who had been sanctioned by the US, the UK, and the EU. They gave them to all the businesses in Antigua, and they said, you know, we don't think any of us should be doing business with them. As a consequence of that, all the banks decided to not do business with any Russian or Belarusian, regarding of whether they were included in the sanctions or not. Now, one possible reason why these vessels might have been released. Now, this is just an opinion, really, because there's no evidence to back this up. But recently, according to the Associated French Press, Roman Abramovich has been helping to broker peace deals in Turkey, and also the recent grain deal that was made between Ukraine and Russia to allow the Ukrainians to export their grain out of Odessa. That agreement apparently was partially brokered by Roman Abramovich. Apparently, he was actually in the audience when that was signed by the Ukrainians and Russians. So maybe it's a reward for that. That is just a guess. I have no evidence to back that up, but I think it's interesting that that just got signed and then his vessels were released. So maybe that was a deal that he created for himself. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any comments about any of the stories we've talked about here today or any other stories, please be sure to get in touch the normal way through the About page of YouTube. You can get us through Instagram or through Facebook Messenger. And also you can get us on Threema. You can scan this code or you can type in this code down here to get in touch with us through Threema. That is completely anonymous. You don't have to sign up with any email address or phone number. Please be sure to like this video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell for future notifications. Okay, guys, thanks very much for watching and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.